Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we got a new Super Rare that I totally told you was coming. We got a new Spec. So let's start off with a new Secret Rare that I totally told you was coming. The other day, I showed you these Lana sleeves. I told you that this definitely meant we were getting a Lana, because it's a Crimson Haze stuff. It's a Crimson Haze products which are released on the same day as Crimson Haze. They always match the set releasing on the same day. I told you there was no realistic possibility we weren't getting a Lana or that it was a coincidence. And of course, we are getting a Lana. Not exactly the most clairvoyant prediction I've ever made, but still nice to have it confirmed. And of course, along with a Lana, we also have a full art Lana. Now, they've yet to reveal if there is a special illustration rare Lana or not. And the fact that they haven't revealed it doesn't actually really tell us very much at all. This is what Pokemon tends to do. We're in the part of the reveal cycle where they tend to reveal full art on their YouTube channel, which is incidentally exactly what they've gone and done. And for what it's worth, they literally did this just the other day with Perrin. That doesn't mean that we're not getting a special illustration rare of Perrin or Lana. They tend to do this quite a bit, where they'll reveal the full art on the YouTube channel. They almost never do that with special illustration rares. It's not the way they roll. So the existence of the full arts does not mean we're not getting a special illustration rare. Cool? Excellent. So what does it actually do? Well, what we got here is a supporter card that lets you put up to 3 in any combination of Pokemon that don't have a rule box, very important, and basic energy cards from your discard pile into your hand. And we know this is a great card. We know with absolute certainty this is a great card. We know with absolute certainty this is going to be played because it's new Clara. Clara is rotating as we hit the rotation. This is coming out shortly after the rotation. This won't be in Temporal Forces, it will be in the set afterwards. So we know that Clara was good. We know that Clara is rotating. We need a replacement for Clara. This is a replacement for Clara. Is it as good? Most of the time, no. Most of the time, this is a weaker Clara. But there is one gigantic advantage, and the gigantic advantage is you can get 3 Pokemon. Clara lets you get 2 Pokemon and 2 basic energy. This lets you get 3 in combination of Pokemon and basic energy. So you can't get 2 Pokemon and 2 energy like you could with Clara. Clara could get you Rule Box Pokemon, this can't. But this can get you 3 Pokemon. So it has 2 massive downsides, 3 cards total rather than 4, and you can't get Rule Box Pokemon. But one fairly large upside, and that is of course the fact that you can go and get 3 Pokemon. And it really is as simple as that. Clara saw play, this will see play, but in a narrower range of decks. Like take Charizard as an example. Charizard is exactly the kind of deck that would like something like this, because you can go and get yourself a Charizard and another Pokemon and a couple of energy and get rolling. And when you lose Charizard, it's a stage 2. You're going to need some recovery here or there. Yeah, not going to work. I'm not saying Charizard definitely would play this. I'm saying Charizard could play this, and unfortunately right now, it's not going to work. You can get your other Pokemon, but you can't get Charizard. And if you play it with Pidgeot, you can't get that. But if you play it with Bidoof, you can. And that, I think, is where a card like this really gets the most play, where you can go and get yourself a Pokemon with which to attack, and a support Pokemon to draw some cards, and an energy or 2 at the same time. Obviously, if you're getting 2 Pokemon, only 1 energy, but get your energy for the turn, get yourself a Bidoof to draw cards, get yourself an attacker, all 3 of them in one go. It works. Is it as good as Clara? Sometimes it's better, frankly. Like, take Lost Box as an example. Lost Box plays very few Rule Box Pokemon. Obviously, they'll play some here and there. But Lost Box is not big on Rule Box Pokemon. So a lot of the time, being able to get a couple of Pokemon and an energy, or 3 Pokemon all in one go, brilliant. Love it. They're going to potentially like this more than Clara. I'm just telling you that it's not always going to be good enough, but it is the new Clara. It is the closest we're going to have. In one way, it's better. In a couple ways, it's worse. There we go. But I did promise you a new A-Spec as well, and I do intend to deliver. We've got ourselves the rather lovely survival cast. I'm a little proud of myself for this one. I translated this one all by myself. And this is one of those ones where it's very wordy. There's lots of words on this one. And I'll be honest with you, I'm pretty proud of myself for being able to translate it all on my lonesome. What it basically is it's a tool card, and if it's attached to a Pokemon that's got full HP, and that Pokemon would be KO'd by damage from an attack, it is not KO'd, it goes down to 10 HP remaining, and then you discard this card. It's Focus Sash. It's Focus Sash, but it's not limited to a fighting. It's literally exactly the same as Focus Sash, with the only exception being Focus Sash was limited to fighting Pokemon, and this can be used on any. And I'll tell you what, as someone who plays predominantly fighting decks, I loved this card back in the day. I played a huge amount of this card back in the day. This card was awesome. The problem is this card can be played around. So there's basically two things you're terrified of when you're playing this kind of card. Firstly, tool removal. And the problem is we're going to have Lost Vacuum. For at least the next format, we're going to have Lost Vacuum. I say at least. Lost Vacuum is very, very unlikely to get a reprint. And at the moment, that's what we've got in terms of tools. That's what we've got for tool removal. The thing is, you could sit here and say, well, that means that in a year's time, Lost Vacuum rotates, this becomes amazing. Might be true. You could also say Pokemon have got an entire year to print another tool removal card, and tool removal is something that they have printed a fair bit in the past. It's not been that long since Tool Scrapper went away. We had Field Blower for a long time. So, I'm not saying they will reprint tool removal. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that this is a card that in the absence of tool removal is awesome. The problem is, we don't know if there's going to be tool removal or not, except to say, we do know that for the next year, there is going to be tool removal, and Lost Vacuum does actually see quite a lot of play. So, I'm not loving this, honestly. I absolutely think there will be some decks where you set up, and then once you're set up, your opponent really needs to get a one-hit KO on your big Pokemon that's sitting there smashing. And if they don't get a big one-hit KO on that Pokemon, they're probably going to lose. And this will allow them to never get a one-hit KO on that Pokemon. The problem is, it might not work, because your opponent comes and drops a Lost Vacuum, and then all of a sudden, got it. The other thing you're worried about is Pokemon that drop damage. So essentially, they can drop damage counters on the active and then immediately KO. The classic example of this was Galarian Zigzagoon. Galarian Zigzagoon was a nightmare for this kind of thing, because Galarian Zigzagoon would come down and drop a damage counter, and then you wouldn't have full HP anymore, and as soon as you don't have full HP, this doesn't work, and you can go and KO and jobs are good 'un. We don't have anything around right now on that level. There is nothing we've got which is as annoying as Galarian Zigzagoon. And the things we've got out there, stuff like Hawlucha, well, that drops damage onto the bench, for instance. Now, obviously, Iron Valiant is a big problem here. But Iron Valiant isn't a, I'll whack one in my deck kind of card. This is it's a deck kind of card. So, I'm honestly not that worried about Iron Valiant. Obviously, against Iron Valiant, this card is beyond useless. I just don't think Iron Valiant is being well, no, I don't think. I know that Iron Valiant isn't really being teched into decks right now. It is seeing a little bit of play, and every so often it'll pop up in a tournament and have a bit of success, and that's lovely. And you could absolutely tech this into a deck to get around this tool, and maybe if it gets too popular, you will. But I'm just saying there's nothing right now that's really seeing significant play that you would look at and be terrified of. I suppose is where I'm going with this. I can absolutely see this being a tool that sees play. I'm not saying it is the best tool in the game. I'm not saying it is the best A-Spec around, and seriously, remember, A-Spec you're limited to one in your entire deck, so playing this precludes any other A-Spec, which is obviously a problem. But I absolutely am telling you that there is a lot of potential here. There are some decks that are absolutely going to love this, and I think this one does have a chance to be really very good. I'm giving this one a nice solid 4 Wassies, and I'm giving Lana between 4 and 5 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies, that would be barbaric. Yeah, I forgot to call that one, sorry about that. I think this is a nice pair of cards. I think these are cool, but I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassie. That's where we talk about Pokemon and card games and Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. And get shout-outs on the channel, like the lovely Kiridan, who's been a supporter of ours for a long time now and seems to be a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.